Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John's reports for the 8th of June, and well, we've been at the peaks here. We've suffered a little bit of fade back. We expect kind of a 50% retrace back into that highs. Go ahead and increase the size of this, make it clear. ABM yellow rising, that becomes the target point coming down below that. You're definitely thinking more short movement at 4190 range. We're already seeing the beginning of a decline of the magenta to the ABM yellow. Pretty close. It's got a little more ways to go. And of course, this is actual current. The previous reading still suggests that market's doing fine. I mean, there's no real strain in this particular point. We've been still waiting for midterm buyers and that to overtake red DOC, which would indicate much stronger momentum. And the fact that we're at these higher highs after having reset the shakeout, that getting a much lower shakeout readings from a histogram standpoint. If that begins to turn negative, we could see a more sustained decline within the current setup. NQ looking pretty much identical, so there's a consistency now that we had a little bit of disproportionate activity where the NASDAQ had been weaker, and so that's starting to come back just a little bit. And as long as magenta yellow or above that 33 level, you're expecting the trend to continue within its current range. So that doesn't mean we're not going to see some significant pullbacks within the setups that we have here, but it's just a matter of overall new money flowing in, and it's that time of the month that it always happened, which is why we saw the giant move right around the 4th, which is typically right about the same time that new fund money comes in. And we always talk about that one because there's just so much liquidity right now, and also within the fact that there's no change in Fed policy as far as that goes. So you're not going to get yield anywhere else. Sort of forces the hand, and the euro maintaining its relative highs to all that. But I'd throw in the Bitcoin setup because pretty easy with these futures every time we see that white spike coming through, and our expectation was that we were actually from the daily positive extreme all the way down to 28 would be the expectation. We had that brief dip that came down here near 30. We were expected to revisit that, and you can see clearly from the daily all the weak points that developed in, so no surprises with anything that's taking place there. So it's kind of interesting. You hear all those pumpers talking about, I'll buy it now, buy the dip, buy the dip. Well, how many dips before? It gets a little hard to keep adding into it. It's that classic catching the falling knife. You're better to wait for a stabilized signal before continuing that setup. We had positive extremes going into the beginning part of this rally here at the end of the day yesterday, and as it spiked up, got our DOC spread within there, finally broke down, even though you had the reset here with the white in that. Once it crossed above, it hung on a little bit, dipped down below, but you had the white coming back above, and so it's just a matter of waiting for that crossover, and it took place right at the start of this bar. Actually, it was even right at the beginning of it, it was already beginning that, and then it just cascaded lower. So filled in all those positive extremes, dipped all the way back down to this dip over here of the red line, bringing us right back to zero. Of course, you can see white MBI staying above the magenta and that, and magenta even still staying below yellow at this particular stage. Intraday, though, it was pretty clean. We started out with a nice little run up, and then boom, began to see the weak signals here. We had the magenta candle, and then of course our dots, which indicate the beginning of that sell, and color had already changed from that, and boom, we cascaded lower. And it was interesting because we were talking about these setups where the white would pop above, and it's just a matter each time it did, the expectation was relatively to the low. Even the last one that came through, even if you're looking at it just a percentage range right between the lows, it's just a matter of being able to attack those pops, and as soon as you get the breakdown, it follows through, and that's exactly what it did. And then once magenta got back over, nice little pop, signaled right here that we would revisit the 0%. It was just a matter of waiting for that to finally trigger as the signal goes. And we ended up with a nice little pump until this post-market, and that's what previously it signaled that we would return back down to that 0%. That's exactly what's taking place. So good action, all clean and well within the expectations of the reading. So you gotta like it that way, clean and simple. As always, though, I will keep updating Skype chat and putting the relevant details out there for you. Trade well, and we'll talk to you later.